Hey folks, this is Susani, one of the founders and CEO of Dollaride, which is a mobility company for communities that are underserved by public transit. Our mission is to make public transit accessible to anyone, anywhere, starting with the people who live in transit deserts. Now, I'm here in New York City, where over 600,000 New Yorkers live in transit deserts. But because of Dollaride, my fellow New Yorkers are able to download our app, check out the nearest Dollaride route, and hop in a dollar van, all for as little as $2 per ride. So whether you live in New York or in some other city that doesn't really have great transportation, maybe you can't rely on your city bus or there's no subway in your neighborhood, soon you'll be able to download Dollaride and use us on your commute to work, to school, or to the hospital. Dollaride fills the gaps left by your public transit system. So please join us as we bridge the gaps between transportation and opportunity with Dollaride.
Pitch review time, folks. This week, Dollaride. Dollaride. You can go to republic.co/Dollaride, Dollaride, and check out the opportunity. What is Dollaride? It's a school bus for adults. That's kind of how I view it. I did not have any idea that there is such a thing as a transit desert. I live in the suburbs, and I definitely recognize there's no cabs here. I definitely recognize when I try to sign up for an Uber, it takes 20 minutes for me to get the Uber here. And where am I taking it? Downtown, maybe because I'm drinking or something? It's like $80. It's ridiculous. And I can afford it, and I can't afford it. So I can only imagine. What I didn't think about was that all of these essential workers, all of our general skill shift work, which makes up the largest population of most cities, they have to somehow get from where they live to downtown and back on the means that they have financially from the job they get during the times and the hours that they work that do or don't coincide with our public transit. So like, to give you context, a city is a circle. Center city, downtown, neighborhood, suburbs. If you're downtown, you walk, you Uber, you cab, maybe bus. If you are downtown center city, you walk. If you're downtown, you might take a bus and CTA. If you're neighborhood, you are almost certainly CTA, bus, or train, walk, cab. Like it's in all of it. If you're in the suburbs, forget about it. You're driving, which for me, I've been here, home with I don't have COVID, but like home during COVID, right? I've saved $500 a week just not driving into the city just because of parking. Forget about gas and all this other shit. So if you look at the number of people who have shift work that have to go from here to the hospital that they work at, or to the restaurant, or to Amazon facility plants, or whatever the case may be, they are most likely walking, taking a bus, going from a bus to a CTA or a train or an L, to a PART, to a bus to walk. It's crazy. They're spending an hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes more than that each way. So there's got to be a better way, right? That's what Dollaride is. And that's the part that I think got fascinated me is like, I'm thinking for you to make a couple bucks every passenger, whew, that's going to take a long time. That's crazy volume for a problem that's going to only be in a certain amount of cities, at least I thought. Then when I talked to Sue on my show, which you can watch the interview full on our YouTube channel or Technori.com, listen to the podcast, Technori Podcast on Spotify. What I learned from Sue is, one, what if Amazon employs 5,000 people in this given area? Wouldn't it be in their best interest to just have a van and buy some routes and make sure that every single person can come to work and back safely? Like, what happens if you have to work in the middle of the night and you have to get dropped off or wait in an area because the transit's not aligned with your schedule? It's not even safe. And I think we're heading into this amenities war for stay-at-home work. We're literally, we want to make sure that you get to our place to work safely and home safely. And that's a lot of value. To say nothing of the fact that you get to actually stay home and be home with your family more. Super valuable. So is there a there? Holy shit, yeah, there's a there. The challenge is the volume. There's apparently, and I didn't even know this, something called dollar vans. And they have different names in different cities. In New York, it's called dollar van, something else in Miami, Chicago, DC, Los Angeles, they're all over the place. These are basically independent people who buy a van and they drive people around. So whereas Uber is a fare-based business and it's buying a ticket on a train or a bus. This is an occupancy business. This is essentially a person with a van who, as long as Dollaride keeps their occupancy high, Dollaride markets to them. It's super simple and incredibly valuable. And if you could have 1 billion people around the country using Dollaride back and forth every day and subsidize part of that cost by actually having businesses, which like Facebook and Airbnb and all these places that in San Francisco, they've had vans and shuttles, if you will, forever. So the logistics component of this is pretty simple. The vast majority of people are going from one area to another area. It's like when you come in from an airplane, land in an airport, take the shuttle to the hotel, you all pile on the bus, and then you make like 5 or 6 stops around the same area you're at, and that's it. Makes a lot of sense. So I actually think this is really interesting. Sue is an experienced technologist, understands exactly what they're trying to do. Dollaride makes sense to me. He is from Jamaica, Queens. He knows the problem. He's lived the problem. He understands the nuances and the importance of logistics in this business. And at the end of the day, he understands that his company's job is to market the opportunity to save money and save time by taking a Dollaride from the neighborhood you're in to Center City and back and get home safely. And also understands the opportunity of an Amazon type company basically supporting the majority of the revenue. It's a huge margins if you do that. On a one-off, it's a volume game, but when you have multiple big employers covering the bulk of the cost, it's a no-brainer. So when you look at the deal, and you have to look at the deal, because this is one of those companies that on its face, I didn't quite get and I didn't love. And after the conversation, I loved it. And I totally get it. It makes a lot of sense. There's like $150,000 invested in this campaign already. It's about a month left in the campaign. 550 some odd people have invested. As I said before, republic.co/Dollaride. I think the founder is legit. He's had experience in this, both as a customer and as a technologist. He's had some success. I think that the problem is very evident. I think that it's a problem that is super valuable to the rider, the family. Like they cannot afford another option. It's not like they can just be like, fuck it, I'm going to go take an Uber. They can't afford to, the vast majority. The problem is evident. The solution is obvious. The problem is the people don't know about the solution, and it's not easy to schedule it. So if Dollaride makes it easy for you to learn that there's a Dollar-van option and that the price is effective and costs essentially the same as it would if you took the L and a bus and walked, it's a no-brainer. It sells itself. So the there is there. The market to me, the only real challenge with this is that you've got to get this off the ground to a certain degree before an Uber or somebody else tries to go after it. But keep in mind that Uber and others are, when you're talking about drivers, they are fare-based where this is occupancy-based. So I like that. Then I should probably get into the numbers. They have grown $100,000 to $400,000 since COVID, and that is with social distancing and less people at work. So you have to imagine, once all the craziness is lifted, and they're predominantly in New York, so that was like the epicenter of this. Once these things are lifted, and people are going back to work, and you live in a neighborhood, and you can hop on a Dollar-van instead of walking and waiting 20 minutes and getting on a bus and then walking and then going to a train and sitting 30 minutes stacked in like sardines, and then walking and you show up to work just drenched. It sucks. This is a much better option. I like it. So I got to rate this. And I have to tell you, when I came into this pitch, I was somewhere in the 6s. When I listened to Sue, I left in like the 7s. And now I've had a chance to really look at this and think of it. And I'm doodling. I'm writing a blog about this. I'm like drawing design models. You're welcome, Sue. I'll send them to you. And I love it. So now I have to go. Rating 8.2 Dollaride.